Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. I have a very interesting comparison for you today because I have the all-new Mazda CX-90 here, which I talked about before, but I also have my Lexus GX 460 beside me. Well, why do I have these two beside each other? Well, I'm going to show you whether or not the Mazda quality is better or as good as the Lexus quality, even though this thing costs a lot more than the Mazda. Did Mazda finally reach that amazing level of quality that can only be achieved by a brand like Lexus? Well, let me compare the two and let you know which one is better in terms of paint quality, body fit and finish, and the overall manufacturing quality. Let's go and find out. Welcome back. So one of the interesting stories that you may not be aware is that Mazda years ago, that's many decades ago, actually tried to create a luxury brand much like Lexus, Infiniti, and Acura. It was going to be called Amati, A-M-I-T-I, but for many reasons they canceled that. But they always had aspiration to do something beyond the norm, to create a car or a vehicle that is more than just an average car. And that is why Mazda and their engineers have been working really hard for the last several years to create a new standard that is as good or better than many luxury brands. And the CX-90, I think, is really the very first vehicle that brings all of the luxury elements. But did Mazda truly achieve that holy grail of luxury level by creating a body and a structure and a quality that is as good as the Lexus that's built in Tara factory, which is considered to be the best factory in the world? Well, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening here. So first, let's take a look at the hood and the front fender quality, which you're going to be surprised because in this Mazda, it's not 3.0 or 3.5, which you might assume is the case. It's actually 2.7 millimeter here and 2.6 millimeter over here, and even at the top, 2.9. So the quality of this side of the fender is absolutely world class. I've not seen any car in this price range that have ever achieved less than 3 millimeter. It's also the same thing on the other side. When I measured earlier, they're ranging between 2.8 to 3 millimeter. Let's take a look at the Lexus on the same side, which is the driver's side. Let's take a look at the gap between the front hood and the fender. And it's 3 millimeter here, 3 millimeter here, and exactly 2.9 millimeter here. So almost identical to the Mazda, but surprisingly, Mazda is slightly better. Now let's take a look at the door here, and I'll go back to Mazda. Between front fender and door is 3.5 millimeter here, a little bit wider here at 4 millimeter, and back here is also 3.8 millimeter. So pretty good, and also very consistent in terms of the panel fit. You can kind of look from the front to back, and it looks like a single piece of metal with almost no fit and finish problem, lined up perfectly as well. I checked the other side already. It's basically the same. Now let's take a look at the Mazda here. And between the front fender and the front door is 3 millimeter here and 2.9 millimeter here, and shockingly 2.9 millimeter here. So once again, on the Mazda, the fit and finish and the quality of the manufacturing for the panel fit and the alignment is slightly better than Lexus GX, which is hard to believe. But more than that, when I kneel down like this and take a look at the panel from front to back, it looks like one single sheet of metal. There's absolutely no warpages. There's no strange curvature. It's completely smooth all the way from back to the front with absolutely zero defect. Look at it, it's like a mirror finish. This thing is really difficult to do. For engineering purposes, you'll need to realize the difficulty of creating a panel this big that is almost flat and be able to create a mirror finish that is engineering's dream. We just cannot simply do that in many cases. That's why many cars have some creases and curvature, because it's easier to do a stamping and to create a panel fit when there's a bit of a curvature, but this one is almost flat. So the actual quality of the fit and finish and the panel alignment is slightly better on the Mazda than the Lexus. Now let's take a look at the paint job to see what the difference might be between the two. I can tell you that this one does have a darker paint, but it is the optional paint that Mazda has, which has one of the best paint quality in the world in terms of the depth and the color and so forth. But this one is also the optional color in the Lexus lineup. So they're both the top grade. And I know we're comparing kind of dark red to white, so it's not a direct comparison. But let's take a look at the paint job on the Lexus side first. And let me tell you once again, there's nothing out there that can match Lexus GX quality because of the depth of the paint, the actual pigmentations of the flakes themselves that's embedded in the paint, and also just the overall quality when you look at it from any angle. Really, there's very little orange peel, and the quality looks absolutely perfect. Even for a lighter color like this, I can't find a defect. And then, as I mentioned, on the Mazda side, which is easier to see just because it's a darker color, it's almost perfect as well. But the interesting thing is that on the Mazda, there's actually less orange peel. In fact, there's quite a bit less orange peel, maybe as much as 20%, and the paint looks much, much deeper, and paint looks absolutely consistent. So as an automotive engineer, looking at the quality of the paint itself and not judging anything else, I would say almost all engineers that have experience in paint job will rank this one higher than the Lexus, even though Lexus paint is almost perfect. But they're both pretty close, and they're both absolutely world class. But remember that this thing cost $20,000 more, maybe even $25,000 more than this one. And so that's where the difference is. They're able to create a car that is just as good in terms of quality of the paint and body fit and finish as a more expensive model, and yet still offer this within the affordable price range. They're both built in Japan. This is built in the Mazda's Hofu factory, where I just came back. I was at the Mazda plant. That's the second time I went to visit the Hofu factory. But this time, compared to my last trip, which was in October, I was able to see the CX-90 in production and see this thing go through the assembly line. So that was really cool experience for me, and I'll talk about that in the future videos. Now let's take a look at the interior fit and finish to see if there's any difference between the more expensive Lexus and somewhat affordable Mazda CX-90. Now I'm inside the Mazda CX-90, and this is where the biggest difference might be between the Lexus and the Mazda, because this is a brand new, all new design with the latest technology, but also the latest advancement in terms of material fit and finish and material selection versus a Lexus, which has been around for a long time. Just take a look at the quality of this finish on the actual Mazda. You have a suede type material, but instead of choosing the cheaper Alcantara type material, which is common in other cars that I've seen, they actually chose the texture of the Alcantara that makes it look like a real suede. So you can see if you look very carefully at the pattern of this suede, it's purposely designed to be a little bit uneven so that it looks like a true leather-based suede versus a fake or synthetic suede. Compared to many other vehicles using this type of suede, they use a cheaper material and it looks very inconsistent, and they don't look like a real suede. But this one, wow, you can't even tell that this is not real. And if you look carefully, like where the switches are, the buttons are, and the surrounding, you can see the fit and finish is perfect with no gaps anywhere. The stitching also looks absolutely perfect. And then the actual material of the plastic, like here, the pattern of the plastic looks like an actual leather again, even though this is clearly a plastic or plastic-based material. And everything is solid, nothing in terms of squeaks or rattle when I drive this. And even the steering has kind of two-tone finish with a darker finish on the outside, another color on the inside, and the stitching inside the steering also perfect. Sometimes Lexus have a very aggressive stitching and it kind of bites into your hand, but not this one. It just feels like a perfectly smooth leather with a perfect stitching. And even the selection of material here, this is not wood, but it's kind of simulated wood look, but it's matte finish, it's not shiny. In fact, there aren't any glossy black finish in here, it's only matte finish. So this is the one area that we all complained about in new models. There's too many glossy plastics that can easily scratch or leave thumbprints. But no, they purposely choose a matte finish that is free of any kind of thumbprint or any kind of oil residue. Nothing is going to be shown here because it's a smooth finish, but it's not glossy. And then the feel of the buttons also in the Mazda is really well done, very tactile, but the buttons have just a small indentation, so it's not like you have to press hard. And also the dial here has a perfect feel, almost like something out of expensive audio stereo equipment. And so you can tell absolutely all the materials and the selection materials are perfect. It looks more expensive than even a Lexus LX600, which cost almost 3 times as much as this one here. All the function stuff are also good. Things click in place well. The actual selector feels precise, and drivability is excellent on this vehicle, which I talked about in my last video about the CX-90. And the seats are comfortable and the quality of the leather is fantastic. Now let's take a look at the GX to see how it compares with this one. So now I'm inside the Lexus GX 460, which is the one I own. And this one is built in Tahara factory, as you know. So it should be near perfect in terms of the fit and finish and material quality and overall manufacturing. Now let's take a look here. So there's a lot more glossy black now in this newly revised interior. So that's one disappointment compared to the Mazda. But of course, being a Lexus and being a GX, the quality is also near perfect in terms of stitching along the dash panel, in terms of the type of material they picked, the fit and finish. And if you do a punch test, nothing feels loose over here or here. And even the material selection on the steering wheel looks perfect with the blackout wood on the top and the bottom, but leather on the side, and the stitching looks really good as well. So you know what, I can't complain about the GX interior. Other than that, compared to Mazda, it does look more outdated, and also the Mazda actually looks more expensive because the combination of suede and other new materials. But this one still is world class in terms of quality and fit and finish. And there's nothing here that I can critique or criticize because the fit and finish is almost perfect, or actually basically perfect. My only complaint is that the whole design is outdated. We don't get a digital cluster. This screen is too small. We don't even get a wireless Apple CarPlay. I have to plug it in to get the Apple CarPlay, but those are functionality issues. But today I just kind of want to talk about the quality issues between a cheaper model and a Lexus to see if Mazda truly matched the quality of the Lexus. And so you can tell the door panel and everything also looks really good, although when I do the little punch test, things does feel a little bit loose, but it hasn't translated into an actual rattles and squeaks when I drive, so I expect everything to be perfect in terms of the overall fit and finish. I just like the Mazda design better though. It looks more up to date, it looks more expensive, it feels more expensive, and I'm still shocked that Mazda is able to come up with such upscale feature and upscale quality at a very affordable pricing for that new 3-row SUV called the CX-90. So my conclusion is that the quality of both exterior and interior are almost equal in terms of Mazda versus the Lexus, with some advantage for the Mazda CX-90 with the panel fit and paint job looking a little bit better in the Mazda, and also the interior looks more expensive and more up-to-date and more upscale, and yet is $20,000-$25,000 cheaper than Lexus. So if you're trying to buy a model within this price range, sort of between $50,000 to $80,000, and you're leaning toward Lexus mainly because of the brand name and brand recognition, well, you don't have to do that anymore. A company like Mazda, or especially Mazda, is finally able to produce cars at the same quality or maybe even better quality at a much reduced price, and you're going to get all of the advantage of a Japan-made, high quality, high level of craftsmanship in an affordable package. And so that's what I want to do today, to showcase whether or not Mazda has truly reached that point where they can compete directly with Lexus, and it appears that they can. So I hope you enjoyed my videos about the quality control and the manufacturing quality between Mazda CX-90 and my Lexus GX 460. More videos coming your way, but for now, if you're able to give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and subscribe, that'll be truly appreciated. But until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.